from probably the model that you've seen in your own heads in terms of Google's success. Less than 10% of the reason why people reach agreements has anything to do with the facts and the substance. Has almost nothing to do with how good your engineering is, with the substantive knowledge you have. More than 50% has to do with whether the people like you or not, and another almost 40% has to do with what process you use. Do you deal with emotions? Do you get commitments, etc.? And if you think this is this top blue triangle is the negotiation, sadly, you're going to be right more than you're persuasive. This is very hard for people who are substantively based to grasp, but it's absolutely true based upon a ton of research. Why was O.J. Simpson found not guilty by the first jury in Los Angeles, despite a yard of DNA evidence, including his blood at the site? It's because the jury, the inner city jury, didn't like or trust the prosecutor, and if they don't like you and they don't trust you, they won't hear you. Now, Google, which means that the characteristics and sensibilities of the person sitting across from you so dwarfs every other part of the negotiation, is not even worth talking about race, religion, gender, culture, creed, unless you know who's sitting across from you. If you bring 3 people to a negotiation on Monday, and so do they, and you bring a 4th person on Tuesday, it's a completely different negotiation. Even with the same 6 people, somebody's kid might be sick, somebody have had a bad commute. So the first thing I've got to do is take the emotional temperature of the person sitting across from me, even if, and perhaps especially if, I'm married to them. There is no Google way to negotiate. There is no American way to negotiate. There are just individuals and the pictures in their heads. Here's one of my favorite. How to negotiate with the Japanese. Well, what's wrong with that? What? You're negotiating with 130 million Japanese? How interesting. You're negotiating with a person or a couple of people who may be more or less the same as the cultural norm. So I want to figure out what are the pictures in their heads. A more dramatic example, if you were a Jew in Poland in 1944 and you thought the Nazis were monolithic and you met Oskar Schindler, you lost your life. Because you didn't realize that Schindler, although a Nazi, was willing to save your life, but you never asked him because you thought all Nazis hated Jews. What a source of competitive advantage it is to know who's really the same and who's really different. And so that is a tremendous competitive advantage for you. You may have more in common with somebody who is your sworn arch enemy than you do with somebody who sits next to you at Google if you just took the time to find out.